Quick video today just to get your feet wet, and remember, if you want the whole story, you're gonna have to stay tuned for the book. I really hope that you're seeing the entire fingerboard through a combination of triads, arpeggios, strong chord tones, but I also see them in really familiar pentatonic shapes. Pentatonic scales are not the exclusive property of AC/DC, okay? Nothing against AC/DC, just saying pentatonics are useful for a whole lot more. For just a couple of quick pathways in, if you trigger the minor pentatonic scale up a third from the root of the chord, for instance, G major 7, major third up is B, so you trigger B minor pentatonic scale, you're going to have those nice major 7th chord tones. Suppose then the chord goes to C and you want to trigger nice Lydian chord tones, but you're not a modal kind of player. If you just stay on B minor pentatonic, by default you're triggering the Lydian notes. You can also trigger Lydian using a dominant 7th pentatonic up a whole step from the root of the chord. So for C, you'd trigger D dominant 7th pentatonic. So if you're not familiar with dominant 7th pentatonics, look them up. Very closely related to minor pentatonics. I'll give you a clue. You take a minor pentatonic scale, you lower one note, and you get the dominant 7th pentatonic rooted up a fourth. Circle of fourths. For a highly altered kind of sound, for instance, if you're playing a blues and you want some tension moving to the 4 chord, here's a shortcut. Take the dominant 7th pentatonic triggered on the flat 5 or on the flat 6 of the chord. So for instance, if it's a blues in G, I like to trigger the E flat dominant 7th pentatonic scale at the tension point leading into the C7 chord. Be careful when and where you do that. That would be the kiss of death in the studio. Producers don't want to hear that because audiences don't want to hear that. But if you're playing jazz, you can trigger the altered notes via the dominant 7th pentatonics. This really all goes back to the concept of triadic superimposition. Listen to piano players. The best people to listen to are piano players and tenor sax players. In so many ways, they have guitar players beat. But to keep this short, I just gave you 3 right now. Minor pentatonic, a major third off the root, gives you the major 7th sounds. Lydian sounds are triggered with the dominant 7th up a whole step from the root, or the minor pentatonic back 1/2 step from the root. And some cool altered sounds for a dominant 7th chord using the dominant 7th pentatonic on the flat 5 or the flat 6. Don't just blindly use the scales. Start to look for the chord tones within the scales, and then you're connecting the dots. If you're playing the minor pentatonic scale, great. But try to identify when you hit that F sharp note on the 2nd string, recognize that as the major 7th of the G major 7 chord. When you hit that F sharp note on the 2nd string, recognize it as the Lydian, as the sharp 4 note of the C chord. When you're using the D dominant 7th pentatonic, recognize the note D as 9, note E as the 3rd, F sharp as the Lydian sharp 4, A as the 6th, C as the root. Look, listen, and pay attention to how each note relates to the chord. I'll see you again on down the line with another update.